Okay guys, Sunday the 29th of October and we are on Australian dollar, US dollar. So let's have a quick recap of this market from last week in relation to our Sunday analysis, and then we'll have a look at the market for the trading week ahead. Okay, so with Australian dollar, let's just mark in some of these levels. So we were looking for the potential support as we got down into this 7,750 level. As we started to press higher, we identified this key level of resistance up here. So 1 and 2 right here. And what we went over was if we pressed up into these levels, we could start to look for resistance. And then it was only if we started to break above these levels that we could look for the support and the potential bullish move higher. Now, coming into last week, what we looked at was how in between these two levels, we were a little bit more neutral on Australian dollar, US dollar. We wanted to see a break of either level because we'd had that swing down and then the pullback. We wanted to see a break above key resistance or a move back down to break below key support. Now, we also had that midpoint sitting right here. And we use this as if above, we could look for potential bullish bounces. If below, we could start to look for that bearish movement and the move down. Now, on Australian dollar last week, certainly coming into the second half of the week, so Wednesday and Thursday, we had strong bearish movements on this market. Now, on Friday, this candle here, so I finished trading at around about 4:30 UK time, and what we've seen is, I haven't actually seen this candle yet, but what we've seen is we have seen the bullish sentiment come back into Australian dollar. Now, what we've been going over for a couple of weeks now, a few weeks now, and it's worthwhile going onto the weekly time frame just to quickly look at it once again, is that although the market is making this pullback, this bearish movement, it is more than worthwhile to continue looking for bullish bounces down at these levels. You know, it's lining up with key areas of support. And if we mark it in from really this previous swing area, so you can see we came down, tested as support, we came back up, tested as resistance once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, really a little 6 test there as well. And then we have broken out. So for me moving forward now, I am more than happy to continue looking for those bearish positions. Really, we can actually bring this up. In this whole section of price action, it's only really if we then start breaking down below that sloping, what is now sloping support, that would begin turning more bearish on this market and start to expect stronger moves down. You know, as we're coming down into this area, it still makes sense to look for those bullish positions. So if we go back onto the daily time frame now, what we can see is the market pulling down into these levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear some of this off of the chart and we'll have a look at these support levels identified on the daily time frame. If we start to come across this previous swing is a good level to look for the clues. I mean, the previous swing was what we broke below before we started testing at previous price action. So if we start to look down toward these lows, now really where we're looking is this whole section right here. And then we have another area just up above, really sitting at these levels down to here. So we're just looking to see basically where the market came down and found value in the past, where the buyers started to step in. We've broken down. Now that we have broken back up above, it makes sense to start looking at these areas once again. 1 and 2. Now what you can actually see is on Friday, the market came down into those levels. It's actually the bottom of it, around about 7,625, found that support and it has pressed higher. So coming into next week, both of these areas right here, around about down to 7,535 to all the way up to really I'd say 600, and then 7,625 to 7,650. More than happy to look for potential bullish bounces on this market. Up above now, this previous swing level right here is a good level of resistance. We also want to watch out just for that MA200 And the MA200 on the daily time frame very often acts as some sort of support and resistance, even if it is just a pause on the daily time frame. You'll see a couple of candles, a couple of doji candles, a couple of candles where it just touches and then rejects a little bit. Very often you do see some sort of a reaction, so it's worthwhile having that on your radar. Now, up above, key resistance, down below, key support, and then up above, if we started to break up above this level, I'd then begin to be happy to look for support once again, and I move back up toward the other key level of support and resistance we've been looking at, identified using the previous swing, right here. Now we have a sort of lower band on this, right here, where we used this previous swing back in July. So we should really take that into consideration. So really up into sort of 7,785 to 7,822. This whole section right here is also key resistance. So what I'm looking at basically is key support down below, and it's only if we really start to break down below the sloping support line and also this key level of support down towards 7,535. You can actually see the market right here pressing down, creating that double bottom before we start this stronger wave up. This is really what I'm considering the lower end of this section right here. So if we start to break down below here, I would then start to look for stronger bearish sentiment, longer term bearish sentiment on Australian dollar, US dollar, at least back down toward 7,380 to 7,342. Now, whilst above these levels, as I've mentioned, happy to look for support and potentially that return back up into key resistance right here, where I'd be happy to then look for weakness and potential continuation of this downward wave. If we start to break up above, look for support and then move back up into previous resistance. And then once again, if we start to break up above these levels, we're looking back up toward those key areas that we identified and where we rejected last time. It's really if we start to break up above here, I'd start to look for, the stronger moves up back into really 8,000 and 8,030 and higher. So really this is the key level of resistance. This down here is that key level of support. In between, we're looking at those key levels of support and resistance. I'm pretty much happy to look for breaks for them as well. So resistance if we break above support, resistance if we break above support. If we were testing here as resistance, we came back down, tested this as support, we broke down below, I'd be happy to look for resistance once again. So in between, looking for that price action evidence. Up above, really the longer term key levels on Australian dollar moving forward now. Okay guys, so as always, I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have a good trading week next week. I'm James Orr and thank you.